Welcome to Kikiriki Talks.
Bonjour.
Kamarjoba.
Kikiriki Talks. Let's kiki about Kikiriki.
Welcome to Kikiriki Talks.
Bonjour, my name is Caroline.
Kamarjoba, my name is Anna.
We are two volunteers in Karlovac, Croatia. I'm from Paris.
And I am from Tbilisi, Georgia. Welcome to our first podcast, Kikiriki Talks. Today we have a very special guest who will be here quite often. It's our fellow volunteer, Khadija.
Hello, my name is Khadija. I'm from Morocco and I'm the new volunteer.
Today we are going to talk about food and partying in both our countries and Croatia.
Because we have noticed quite a lot of differences.
First, we would like to make a quick disclaimer. We've only been here for 3 months and we arrived in 2020, so we probably did not get the full Croatian experience. So please don't get mad at what we are saying. It's really our personal experience. We are not making generalities about Croatia. Thank you. End of disclaimer. So we noticed that here in Croatia, if you are invited to someone's place for a party, if you have to go there at, let's say, 8, you will probably not be offered an actual meal, even if you leave at 2 or 3 in the morning, which was quite surprising for me because back home in France, we always planned some food at some point of the night. And while we were talking about it with Anna, we realized that it was one interesting differences between Croatia and our countries.
Yes, I agree. In Georgia, it's also quite different. We don't really plan dinners or meals, but somehow you always end up having a good meal when you're partying with your friends.
Yeah. In France, for like students' parties, we will go to buy alcohols before the party, of course. If we go with the host, like in a group raid to the shop, we will always plan to buy pizza or pasta or something that you will eat probably around 11 when you drank too much and you feel like you need to be a bit filled to soak the alcohol. If you don't go with the host, then everybody will bring their own alcohol and snacks, but it will be mostly the host will take responsibility. It's implied most of the time that he will provide food, and we don't do crazy stuff. It's usually just some frozen pizzas. You turn on the oven, and then everybody can start for another few hours of drinking and fun.
Interesting. For example, for a Georgian case, usually when you know that you're going to a party where it's only going to be young people, you just bring snacks and drinks, but host always has some meals ready in their fridge. So after a few hours, whenever you get hungry, you can just ask them, "Oh, I'm hungry," and the host will give you the list of everything they have, and then you can choose, and they will kindly warm it up for you. Yeah, serve it to you. But if everybody is super hungry, then usually we just order together and then split the bill, or somebody will be kind enough to offer everything. But that's very unusual.
So you get homemade meals during parties?
Yes, because in Georgian case, students usually don't live alone, like without any adults, because usually when you are not from the capital and you come to the capital to study, some relative will host you, or it's very rare when you find roommates and rent the apartment with them right from the first year of your studying. This happens usually later, like few years later, when you already have been when you already have more experience, you are more on your feet. Usually in the apartments, even though it's empty at that moment, there is always somebody, some adult that cooks like a family meal. So it's not like you, Caroline, said that sometimes you plan and you buy some frozen pizza or something. But in Georgian case, it's always more family prepared meal.
But every time we went to a party in Croatia, and once again we did not go to that many parties, I'm thinking specifically to some game party, like game night with a board game. If we arrive around 8, we would only crave some snacks, but no actual meal. So for now, we did not experience any meal in a party in Croatia.
Yes, the only experience we had with homemade meals, it was always said and organized beforehand. We would say that, we're gonna have lunch now, or let's have a dinner. So that's when we had that experience. So yeah, we see this as like a difference from our countries. Maybe it will change in the future.
Yeah, now I know that I have to grab a quick dinner before heading to the host.
Yeah, you would never do that in Georgia. We're talking about like youth parties, but if you're going to visit a family, a relative, or like friend's family, you don't go there full. Yeah, you are going there in mind that you know that like, my friend's mom makes this great dish, so I'm gonna be like quite hungry to enjoy it fully. When you come to my house and my mom won't let you go without any food, even if you say no, somehow it will still end up in front of you and you have to eat even if you don't want to. It's considered impolite.
How is it in Morocco?
Well, it's actually almost the same as in Georgia. It's just a bit different. Like when I came here first last year, when I came here to Croatia as an Erasmus student, I adapt to this kind of situation. Whenever someone invites you, they would just add this phrase like bring your drinks and food with you, which would be considered as rude in Morocco, because always the host is the one who prepares everything. And if you went there like full, they would still insist that you would take the food, or maybe even take it with you at home. So yeah, it's a bit different from here, from Croatia.
And what about like youngster and student parties in Morocco?
As you know that Morocco is a Muslim country and most of people are conservative. So like it's Muslim and patriarchal. So it's okay for boys but not okay for girls. So mostly girls just make this parties that ends very early, without alcohol, without anything, and just for like birthdays or I don't know, engagements or graduations or something like this. But for boys it's totally okay, like you can do it. So as far as what we do in parties, as I said before, always the host is the one who prepares food. And like usually if it's a student, or maybe they would like buy the ingredients and prepare it and then of course split the bill. But it's still like it's a common thing that always the host mostly is the one who prepares everything.
Yes, we Georgians like to say that we are a country of hospitality. Georgians are very religious, so they consider guests as a gift from the gods. So even if you don't have much to give to your guest, you will starve for a week, but will give and host everything for the guest and prepare like the biggest meal. It would be considered a shame if somebody visited you and you just offered coffee or something and then that person went somewhere else and said, I went to this family and they only offered me coffee. It would be like a biggest gossip. It is changing now, of course, everything is changing, but traditionally, yes, guest is like a gift from the god, so everybody tries to honor that tradition.
Well, you both talked about how the society is ruled by religion, it's really not the case in France. So we are, I would say, much more laid back about that. We are just people who know we are gonna be hungry at some point, and so we are just very pragmatic. Pizza is always somewhere in the fridge.
Waiting for you to get drunk.
Exactly.
What about family gatherings or like guests coming randomly?
If it's a family gathering, then there will be food. The host will make a full meal, like 3 courses, and first the appetizer, then you have the main dish, then you have salad and cheese, then you have dessert, and then you have coffee, and it can take up to, 4 or 5 hours. And of course, each of these steps have their side alcohol that are specifically coordinated. So yeah, you are never hungry after a French family gathering, and you know you will not be hungry. So, but it's quite different from a party to me. Like, at least in my family, I don't see the special family dinners as parties. It's just a huge meal for 4 hours, and we get to cook together if we host. Also, if you are invited at a friend's place, but more for like a meal, like a lunch or a dinner, you can suggest to bring the dessert, or you can bring the wine. Sometimes you do both, like you go to the bakery or you bake your own dessert, and you can often suggest to bring one of these to make the host not have to make so much things.
Yeah, bringing desserts is also a case for Georgia. We have lots of bakeries, like pastry bakeries, so whenever you go, you either bring chocolate or just traditional desserts. You don't usually bring wine, because most of Georgian families, we make our wine ourselves. But sometimes if the family doesn't have wine, you know a guy who makes a great wine, so you just ask them very kindly, so can you bring like this amount? We love your wine. It would be nice. Bringing sweet stuff is also a case for Georgia.
The case in Morocco, like in Morocco, actually we have 2 cases. The case that the host is the one who is going to prepare the food. So in this case, invited people would just bring some fruits or drinks, and then the first thing that they will be served is tea. It's like the first thing. Then of course with some sweets and stuffs, and then the main meal, and after that tea again for gossip. That's like always the longest part for the family meetings. So it's like Billy first gossip. And the second case is when, for example, I would call someone and say, hey, don't cook lunch or dinner today, I will bring it. So it's like us who will bring the food and everything. And of course the host would just take care of the tea before and after.
Yeah, not about tea, but usually the sweet stuff the guest brought, we usually eat it really late after we are really, really full and we need something different, not like savory stuff. We just make lots of coffee and clean the table from all the dinner meals, and then we just drink coffee and enjoy pastry or desserts.
Do you miss it?
Yeah, I quite miss it. For example, yesterday was my grandma's birthday and my whole family was there. My mom cooked everything. She even cooked my favorite meal. So they sent me a bunch of pictures. It looked nice and amazing. I really miss Georgian food and gatherings.
Yeah, my aunt sometimes sends me picture of the prettiest cakes in the bakery, and it hurts.
There is some food that you can just recreate. I've tried. Mostly it was a fail. I have people here who saw that.
Well, all this stuff really makes me hungry, so maybe it's time to wrap this up and go eat together.
Great idea. Let's move on.
Thank you very much for listening to our very first episode of Kikiriki Talks. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed recording it. Please don't hesitate to follow us on social media.
Our social media handles are Centar za Mlade Grabrik on Facebook and also on Instagram. Also our organization, Carpe Diem, both on Instagram and Facebook.
Please subscribe to this YouTube channel,
where you can see more stuff that we do in the youth center and in our organization,
including exciting vlogs. Salut!
Nachwamdis!
Slama!
Oh.